You have now arrived at Stadium and Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! Oh my! It's been blocked again! It's gonna heave one deep down the field. It's gonna be to the goal line. It's gonna be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyree Cleveland! Oh my! I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw, pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Landry! It's Landry! Got a touchdown! Landry's got a touchdown! Oh man!
Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out a winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium and Gale.
Bum, bum, bum.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your favorite Uncle Sil.
It's Dan.
And Dellenger.
Same point, same time. New coach, new vibes. Who this?
Before we get into that, boys, Nick, happy birthday. How was it, my friend?
Good birthday. Had the family in town. It was a rare instance. So I was in Columbia, Missouri with my dad, and 72 hours later, he was up here. We had some friends come over. So we had like 9 people at the house for Thanksgiving. Cake, pie, turkey, ham.
Okay,
There was
good.
stuffing. There was stuffing there, but I didn't
The
have
whole
any.
kit and
Was
caboodle.
it, was it dry or wet?
So I realized stuffing is just mushy bread. It's just mushy bread with stuff in it. That's
Every
all it
week,
is.
so he comes with terrible taste.
That's all
one.
it is.
No, it's
Yeah.
breading. No, it's more to it. You got like onions and a whole lot of other shit going
Yeah,
on.
celery in
Depending on
there,
your
yeah.
culture. Celery, yeah, a lot of vibes, Nick.
So it's mushy bread with other things in it. I don't get it.
Mine's don't be mushy. It's more of
Yeah.
like a bread pudding, bread crumb
Yeah.
type thing, not mushy.
Yeah.
I don't know who's mushing your dressing, but
So
Get
if
them
you,
out-
you
get them out
can't-
of the
you-
kitchen.
You can't grab it and like it holds its shape.
what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't
That's
think it's
mushy.
I wouldn't grab mashed potatoes or dressing for that matter.
Imagine sticking your hand in like a thing of just stuffing, just pulling it out and just trying to talk about consistency. You know what I
Take
mean?
my strong hand.
Nick, I am
Hey,
convinced.
would you pick mashed potatoes or stuffing?
A 100% mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes,
I
yeah.
mean, come on. So
But there's room on the
guys
plate
are
for
acting-
both.
You guys are acting like I'm saying you shouldn't have turkey on Thanksgiving. I'm saying you should take this trash side off the table, and you're like,
I think you should
preposterous.
take your trash takes off the
Preposterous.
podcast. Is what it's probably a better direction for us to go. My mom, and shout out to her, makes my grandmother's recipe. It's a cornbread stuffing. It's out of this world, or dressing.
I could
whatever
be
you
into
wanna call
that. I'm a big cornbread guy. I could be into that. I've never even heard of that.
it. It doesn't sound like you've had much
Yeah, like
adventuring.
the dressing that my aunt makes or my mom makes is like a cornbread like texture. I don't know where the mushy stuff comes from, but happy birthday, bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Shout out to that, man. What one Thanksgiving or birthday for you, food wise? What one today?
What won the day? I just liked having people over. I don't get to see my parents that often, especially during football season. My dad started coming up to more games now that he's retired. But when he was working, I wouldn't really see my parents, at all in the fall. So just having people over, that's the thing. And then all just sitting around and you're drinking beer at 12 o'clock, watching football. And there's football on all day. I enjoyed the Egg Bowl.
Shout out to the Egg Bowl. It's entertaining.
Yeah, I enjoy the Egg Bowl. The NFL games are kind of booty, but it's just a good time. Thanksgiving's probably my favorite holiday because you got football on TV the whole day. There's really no expectations. Christmas you've got to buy gifts and stuff like this and all that kind of stuff. Thanksgiving is just like, hey, show up with some stretchy pants, ready to eat and enjoy.
What I noticed the value of Thanksgiving has fell down for me tremendously because I don't eat pig. And I don't even know why they have turkey as the mascot of Thanksgiving. Because every dish I opened up had like pork and pig in it. I was like, man, what's going on? The dressing got pork in it.
Yeah.
The greens got pork in it. The string beans got pork in it. Jeez Louise. A ham is cooked.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody knew what they were doing cooking for your Thanksgiving.
That ain't work out for me. I had some salmon.
Hey, come to think of it, salmon's probably a likely thing that they did eat, you know? Dude, I had a great Thanksgiving. Shout out to my mom and my dad. They smoked turkey. They bought a new Traeger grill, I don't know, probably 6-8 months ago. And I asked them before, have you guys smoked anything before? And the answer was a resounding no. They had used it as a grill, but had never smoked it before. So you can understand some trepidation going into Thanksgiving, the one meal a year where you eat turkey as your main dish. But boy, did they blow it out of the water. That was probably the best smoked turkey I've ever had in my life. Shout out to my mom and my dad and to Traeger Grills for making it easy. I don't think they had to do anything. I think they just kind of had to set it and forget it. But
one more shout out, and they got to give us a sponsorship, Dan.
That's right. But no, it was good. I was down in South Florida. We went boating a bit on Friday, but it was a good weekend to be down in South Florida.
What do you prefer, smoked or fried turkey?
Before this weekend, I would have, or before Thursday, I would have said fried. But you know, if I can get a smoked turkey like that every time I get turkey, I'll take that any day.
The turkey chef always mad for the turkey. People that tell me they have dry turkey, I'll be like, nah, you got a dry chef.
That's why it's not the prettiest, but I butterfly the turkey before you cook it, because the way the turkey is, the breast meat will get dry before the dark meat will, and if you got it in the oven, the breast meat's gonna be higher up. So I butterfly it and kind of lay it flat and let it cook a little bit more even. It's just not a good presentation, but I think you get a better cooked product.
I want to give a shout out to Shannon Snell. I saw this on Wednesday on Twitter. Thankfully, I was on. He talked about tenting the bird before you smoke it. And I asked my dad, because I totally had given him, free reign. Didn't offer any advice or anything. I was just like, hey, good buddy of mine, Shannon Snell, friend of the show. He encourages you to tent the bird. He's like, well, I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I was like, he's a guy that
my Facebook group says not to do that ever.
I'd encourage tenting it, and he did. And boy, Shannon, I don't know what it would have tasted like without tenting, but it certainly tastes incredible.
What exactly is a tent? I'm sorry. What did I
mean? Like a tinfoil tent over it. Yeah, cover it so it doesn't, I guess, evaporate everything. I don't know. Chemistry. Nice. Well, Silk, you mentioned it. Gators walk out with a new coach this weekend, but before they do that, they get to claim state champions again over the state of Florida. Worst year we've had in quite some time, and still walk out as state champions. It's good to be a Gator.
Shout out to legendary GOAT interim Gregory Knox. Pulled up and did what he had to do. We getting into the game breakdown right now, but shout out to that state champs.
Yeah,
interim god Greg Knox giving Lamar Jackson an L, keeping the fighting Norvells for bowl season. Greg Knox, remove the interim. That's what I said. No one else wanted to hear it.
No.
No, we did.
Getting a little ahead of myself there.
You got a nice little parting gift for him, and we appreciate his time, and we'll make sure his last check does clear the direct deposit. But Nick, before we get into this game, Silk, if you give a quick shout out to Greg Brunt and the folks over at Brunt Insurance.
State of Miguel is brought to you by the great folks at Brunt Insurance and Financial Services. Be sure to visit bruntinsurance.com for all your insurance needs: home, auto, renter's insurance, business insurance, life insurance, anything you may need insured, and also financial services. 954-589-2204. Big coverage, big policies. Greg, what it do?
Perfect. Well, Silk, thank you so much. 24-21, the Gators win, get their third consecutive victory over Florida State in Gainesville amongst a very packed stadium. I know that they announced the sellout. I think the total announce was somewhere around 88,000, Nick. But the Gators do end up winning 24-21. Gregory Knox does lead the team. The Gators get their first victory in a game where their quarterback threw 3 or more interceptions in a game since 2016, when Emory Jones does throw 3 interceptions in the game. Bailed out by Anthony Richardson. The Gators scored 10 points in the third quarter, and that's really what they needed to seal the victory. And then finally, we can't forget the old whiff at Griff. But before we dive into every aspect of that game, so give us your thoughts and kind of overarching view of it.
Yeah, the game started off the first drive. I thought was good. We got some points, and I just felt good about like the way we drove down the field. Shout out to Keymore Gamble, who just had a real good season despite everything that went on. Keymore Gamble had a great season. Shout out to him and his mom and their whole her being able to come to the game. So the first drive was dope. Went down. Emory looked efficient. Did what we had to do, got some points, and then it just got a little messy after that. I think the defense, I don't know what happened, but they just look a lot better. Just the absence of Todd Grantham and some of the old energy. Those guys just flew around better, in my opinion. So the first half, I thought the defense gave a spirited, good go at it, put us in good position to put up some points, and we just the ghost of Dan Mullen's quarterback management kept popping his head up. With Emory Jones, I thought he should have been snatched a little bit earlier than the 3 interceptions. But those 3 interceptions kept them in the first half. And that's my synopsis of the first half. What you guys thought? Should have ran the ball more.
Yeah, first off, I wasn't far off. I said Damian was going to get 15 carries, got 12. Might have been because Naquan went down, but I think the refs were trying to get that overtime check. Like, this was a near 4-hour game.
That's got to be one of your longest, right?
It was the longest game of the season. Yeah, non-overtime, longest game of the season. And it was just like, how many penalties? Was it 33, 23 penalties between the two
Whatever
teams?
it was far too many.
Then injuries, reviews. I was like, there was like no
kept
flow.
Putting time back on the clock. That's what was killing me.
Towards
the end of the game, they kept like every time they went to go look at something on the screen, they would put more time on the clock. I'm like, bro, stop putting time on the clock.
Well, not only that, I feel like they did a better job of watching the clock than they did of like actually watching like replays. The interception was a little bit of an iffy call, but definitely the Anthony Richardson first down, where I think everybody on TV, including Robert Griffin III, who I appreciate the opportunity for everybody to get a chance to pursue a career that they want. But I am very much in the mindset that he's got better opportunities elsewhere for his life and his career.
It's actually pretty entertaining. If your team is winning, it's okay. But if your team is losing, it's annoying. So, like, at first, I was just like, get this guy off TV. But when we start winning, he just had goofy remarks about everything. I was like, all right, now it matches the game.
Nick, I know.
I need to go back and watch the game.
Do you know who the 3 candidates he said the Gators should look at for head coach?
No, but did you see the suit he was wearing? He had like a double-breasted.
Yeah, that's all double-breasted suit.
Yeah, I ran into him in the press box.
His 3 coaching candidates, Nick, were Tim Tebow, right? Were Deion Sanders, and then Ike Hilliard were his 3. Were his 3 picks for Gators head coach.
Does he get like the same agent as them?
That's a fireable offense. Like, I don't know how he still had a job after saying such ridiculous things.
Could you imagine, like, come back from halftime? It's like, hey, so we don't have an analyst anymore. Robert has been let go at halftime, and we're just going to go to whoever's down on the field. Take it away.
Yeah, a little bit more dead air. He wasn't much better himself. But, Nick, just to add some clarity, there's 22 total penalties in the game. The refs definitely made the game about them. FSU had 89. The Gators had 107. So at 196 yards of penalties in the game. I like the Gators' energy, like Silk said, scoring on that first drive. I thought that they played with a lot of drive and fervor. I want to give a shout-out to Brenton Cox. Ends up with 4 sacks in the game himself, which I don't know, and I didn't look it up before. That's got to be up there with most sacks in a game in recent history, at least.
It was. I think it was since like 2012 or something, right?
I feel like I saw a stat that was a little bit long in that, but yeah, I mean, regardless, whatever it was.
I thought when I saw the stat, my first thought was I thought Jakai Polite would probably have like more sacks than hit that 4 at some point, but he didn't. That was my first thought.
Yeah, he ended up with all
it
4
was-
sacks, 31 sack yards.
What was crazy is that apparently sacks weren't even like a recognized statistic by the NCAA until 2000. Because
What?
I'm trying to figure out with Florida, like, hey, when was the last time someone had 4 in a game? And they're
Nick, I
going
don't
back
think
and they're
that's
like,
true.
well, that's what Florida told me, that it wasn't a recognized stat. Because I'm like, well, shoot, who was it that has the record in '99? He had 13.
Curse. Was it Javon Curse?
Alex Brown.
Alex Brown. Yeah.
Alex Brown.
Sorry.
So Alex Brown
Right
had
after
5 in
Curse.
a game, had a 5 in a game in '99. And the SID said, well, it wasn't a recognized statistic for record books by the NCAA until 2000. So Florida recognizes Alex Brown as their leader. So he had 5
They
in a game.
they don't
in
retro
99.
go back and like just count. It ain't that difficult.
I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of years.
They got time.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of going back. Can you imagine watching game film from the 50s?
No, I won't go back that far.
I'm just trying to go back to like the Spurrier era. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a hell of a game. And it's funny because remember the cryptic tweet before the year, it was like best pass rusher in 2020, and then whoever that Georgia fan site was like, he's out for the year, and I was like, no. That guy was actually in my
his motor is still so terrible. Like
it's not that it's terrible. It just seems like he picks and chooses when to turn the car on and when to turn it off.
I think that's
means
why
it's-
Silk means it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good when it's on.
That's what I mean. I don't
It's
think
terrible.
he like
A
has
motor
run
just
out of
goes.
energy. I think he just there's times that it's like very blatant that he just like gives up on a pursuit or gives up on a play that I think that those are things that probably get noticed more by scouts than just the sacks or just the tackles. It's, you know, when you're on pursuit and you're maybe not going to 100% get the tackle, maybe it's only a 50-50. I feel like he often takes the 50-50.
It'd be about 70-30 sometimes. He just let off the gas. I'm like, yo, dog, like you was like 2 steps away. Other than that, great game by him. He definitely was the best defensive end on the field. Jermaine Johnson was put in shackles by Dellenger. A straight jacket, I would say. Shout out to Gene Delance for handling what some think is a first-round defensive end. Then he got 1 sack, couple tackles for loss, but didn't really affect the game like I thought he would. They did a good job of like kind of scheming around him a little bit. Shout out to McGee.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. No, I think Anthony
No,
Richardson.
he called a horrible job. We won,
Yeah.
but it was some egregious play calling going on, man.
Oh,
We sat on the ball the whole third.
shout
Like,
out
we
to
got
me.
we got this with the fourth. We got up 17 points and kind of just shut it down. I didn't like that. Damian Pierce should have got more carries. He was hot running the ball with no helmet on. They benched him. It's like, bro, get a guy. He got the high hands. Keep rolling with it. It's fourth quarter. This is when you want Damian Pierce to lean on people.
How
I
about
don't-
Damian Pierce too? That whole drive, the touchdown drive, that whole drive, he carried the ball. He carried the team down the field. And I don't know why I knew that was a rule. Like I don't remember what play that I've covered or game that I've watched. I've seen that, but his helmet popped off and he started running, and I'm like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's
I
also
knew it was a
coming
rule
back
because when
you
I
can't
heard it,
do it.
when they made it, I said it's stupid.
Like, what are you
Like-
supposed to do? Like, fall to the ground and be like, so sorry, no,
Come on,
please
bro.
don't hurt me.
If anything,
Yeah.
the play should just be dead there. But why give me 15 yards for
Don't-
like
don't
being an
put it-
athlete and
don't
having
put it
natural
on-
instincts?
Yes, don't put it on the athlete to stop playing. Put it
Right.
on the refs to blow the whistle. All these guys, when they hear a whistle, they're going to stop.
Yep.
Right.
Don't
No,
put
I
it on the
agree.
athlete to be like, oh, no, he ripped my helmet off. And why wasn't that penalized?
Right. Well, he was penalized for like something on that play. I think it was the same because it was a 15-yard penalty and then it was a half a distance to the goal, first down.
I like that guy. Number
Um,
10, I like him, Robinson. Yeah, he's a good guy. He commits a lot of penalties.
He does. Yeah.
My play of the game was still Malik Davis on that third down. He picked up a clutch third down, broke some tackles. To me, that was the turning point in the game where we kind of got some space and was able to do some stuff. So both running backs showed up to play a little bit, but I wanted Damian Pierce to get more carries.
Speaking of running backs, Nick, do we have an update on Naquan Wright yet, or? You looked in rough
He had a
shape?
nice cutback run.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything. It's been full Napier season since the game, and we'll get into that later. I don't know his status.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Spencer,
I had the same question. That injury, I didn't have time to tweet that, but I was thinking the same thing. Why are we carrying him off of the field like it's World War III?
Yeah, my mood
it's
came
like
off.
Forrest Gump scene, man.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on, bro?
The two grown men carrying a guy out, and were both of his ankles shot, or was it just one?
Well, I think just one. But also, it looked like they were talking about getting him off the field, and he like said no, and then did the one hop thing. It was his left. He wasn't putting any pressure on his left foot. But then once you get it's like that pride thing. It's like, hey, if I can move, if I can walk, even if I need help, I'm gonna don't cart me off the field.
Fuck all that. Send me the cart.
But but then when he was on the sideline, then they like full on carried him to the locker room. Don't know. I mean, it's just we haven't thought much about didn't think much about the game going into it. Ever since Mullen has been fired, it's kind of been.
I think just on another note, on Naquan Wright's run, I think he need to put his foot in the ground and go. He's starting to dance a little.
Mm-hmm.
I do like his footwork, but I thought he's dancing
an ankle
a little
snatcher.
bit. Yeah, do that in the hole, but you can't be dancing in the backfield. I think they need you to put your foot in the ground.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, let's see, who else? So you gave a shout out to him before. Kamari Gamble, I think played well. Ends the season up with just a yard south of 400 yards on the season. Obviously, they have a bowl game ahead of him, but I thought especially for what we thought would be more use out of the tight end this season, I think that he definitely showed up when needed. Again, shout out to Dameon Pierce. That run, even though it didn't count for a touchdown, will forever be used in Gator lore when talking about this game. What do you guys pick? That the picture of him running with no helmet, or the Earl Everett sack on Troy Smith?
Well, I mean, one's a national championship game. One is to go 6-6.
Nick, one is a
he's
picture,
my
and the
guy,
other
though.
one's a picture. So
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sure. One is you versus the guy she told you not to worry about. It's got to be Earl with the sack. But Dameon Pierce is my guy. I'm petitioning for him to come back.
he can theoretically come back.
I got a better
He
question
can.
for you. Give me better. Which one you prefer? Zook being carried out of Doak, or Ron Zook game last night? Which one means more to you?
Greg Knox game. I think Ron Zook.
Ron Zook Field.
Yeah, Ron Zook Field. The day that they dedicate the entire field to Bobby Bowden and
Yeah,
they
that
lose
slap.
to a
That do
lame
slap.
duck coach.
But Greg's situation just slaps though, bro. He ain't got an OC. He ain't got a DC. He don't have an offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Your OC was an analyst
His unit
a year ago.
Yeah.
His special team unit stinks. Like, and he's the interim. But somehow he figured out a way. This
It
is the best
stunk
our
again
team.
the other day.
The best our
Jesus.
team has looked all season. The most prepared our team has looked all season was this past Saturday.
Did you catch
That's a
the highlight video Gators football tweeted out?
I don't think so, but I
Never
did
lost.
catch the
That's what I
paratrooper
like.
coming in, or parachute jumper.
Greg Knox was firing the boys up before the game.
I can see it.
Said when you leave that tunnel, they're locking the gate behind you.
I see what Nick trying to do.
You go out there and kick their ass. Listen, Greg Knox is not going to be at Florida much more longer than whenever the bowl game is. But my dog is the interim coach god.
No
He's
doubt.
2-0.
The king of the interim.
Never lost.
Never lost.
The best winning percentage of any coach in college football history.
A shout out to whoever running the Gator football account. That was hilarious.
That was good. One other thing from the game, I think it's I was a little concerned that Florida, I think I tweeted, I was like, all right, Florida should like start running away with this at some point. And there's no sense in like beating a dead horse because you're about to get a whole new staff, new culture. But I think that's something that will stick with me with Dan Mullen's era, is that when Florida got up on teams and could have, put your foot on their throat, ended games that too many times they didn't. And I think Florida was up. It was a 2-possession game. I'm thinking, all right, Florida should start, running away with this. And then Florida State goes down the field, scores, and then we're in a position where we get that glorious blooper reel.
Whiff at the griff, baby.
Yeah. But that's just, not to be a dead horse, but it's just something that has stuck out with me in the Mullen era. It's just not being able to close teams out when you have the opportunity. I think you could have closed Florida State out in the third quarter and had a really lopsided game into the fourth.
Well, they should have closed out in the second quarter. There was a number of drives where they were in the red zone and throwing interception. You have a number of bad turnovers.
Some egregious interceptions.
Yeah, they were late. They were off. Just everything about it. I tweeted during the game, and this isn't a slight to Emory Jones at all as a person. It seems like there's something very off mentally. Just seems like he doesn't have it. But I also just think that he lacks so much confidence that he's behind on a lot of throws. He makes very slow reads. He just doesn't feel comfortable in this offense. And for a guy that's been in the system for 4 years, I don't get it. A lot of these mistakes you expect in game 1, game 2, game 3, not in year 4, game 12.
And it's just like it just looks leaps and bounds. Like I don't think it looks close. When Anthony Richardson gets in, it just looks like a more in command offense. Like I just think he looks like he's more sure of everything he's doing, from his mannerism to the calls, breaking the huddle. Everything about his body language says it's like he's more fit and ready for the job. And then he didn't do anything spectacular. He just didn't turn over the ball, manage the offense, hit open receivers.
Made a couple really good checkdowns.
Right. Just manageable stuff. Like he didn't do anything. He didn't have to beat Cam Newton for Auburn or nothing yesterday to beat Florida State. We should have blown that team out, but we gave him 3 interceptions in the first half that kept him in the game. Made that way more weird than it should have been. Not to beat a dead renegade.
There it is.
That's why you get paid the big bucks,
That's right.
Corey. And one other thing I wanted to read it when you mentioned Komori. He released something on Twitter, and I think a lot of times we don't know like what's going on off the field with these guys.
Right.
And we had known about his mom. She had been in the hospital in ICU for most of the fall. She was able to be at the game Saturday. I know that meant a lot to him. But he released something saying one of his closest friends was killed the night before the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma. His cousin was murdered. Shortly after that, his grandma passed away a few months later, and then dealing with his mom. So, there's so much stuff that, we just don't know that's going on outside and that these guys are dealing with.
Right. So
shout out to Komori and shout out to Dan Mullen, Tim Brewster, his teammates, Vernell Brown, everyone around him. When you're going through stuff like that, the people that you're around on a day-to-day basis, they're putting in probably 80 hours a week with each other. Shout out to everyone, providing him a support system.
No doubt.
Yeah, shout out to these seniors. There was another, I think it was Scott, Gator Scott, that covers the UF for the UAA. He posted a photo of one of the walk-ons, and pardon me forgetting his name. Can't forget about those guys, for the last 3, 4, 5 seasons, however long.
You just forgot about him, bro.
I forgot his particular name. This is kind of like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, where I'm giving them all credit as one collective group.
Man, tell us not to forget about him. He's like, I forgot his name, but don't forget about him, guys.
Yeah, no. I said don't forget about the walk-ons as a whole. But no, you're right. Yeah, no, that's
Brandon McCarr is the guy you're talking about.
That's exactly who I was just going to say that, Nick.
Friend of the walk-ons, friend of the punters.
Yes,
I'm here for those.
Hey, shout out to that punt, bro. What a fucking punt.
Thank you.
He put his whole he put his whole foot in that kick.
Yeah, you're figuring something out there.
Yeah. And I was about to say something crazy. But he put his whole foot in that kick, bro. What a kick, man.
Yeah. And
Listen,
so shout out to go ahead.
I've got a standing invitation from the Crawshaws. If y'all want to come to Australia, Emu Plains, New South Wales, we're gonna do a live pod from Down Under. Down Under, that's a Manscaped read ad. That'd be the most epic Manscaped read ad.
Right.
It's a small little town.
I like where you're taking
Small
it.
little town, only about 4,000 people, so it might be interesting.
Emu
But I got a standing
Plains.
invitation.
What do they eat?
More
in Australia?
emus than
Kangaroo?
people.
Yeah, eat whatever. We're on the Outback, buddy. They have an Outback in Emu Plains, an actual
That's egregious
Outback steakhouse.
because
Do you think they
it's
have a
not.
bloomin' onion? They have to.
They have to.
Outback Steakhouse has nothing to do with Australian food.
Nothing.
No. It's a Crocodile Dundee reference.
Yes.
Remember we talked about this
Yeah.
last week. Yeah. But I do want to give a shout out, as I was saying, Brandon Bakar, big fan. Shout out to the walk-ons that aren't, they got recognized, but probably didn't get the playing time, for giving what they gave. But of this senior class, let's give a quick shout out. Who was your favorite senior? You have to pick one.
I'm gonna go with just because for the close relationship working with him this year. I'm gonna go with Rick Wells. Came in, it was rough. Got into some trouble with Tyree Cleveland. Got buried on the depth chart a little bit. Didn't really get to see him a lot, and then just seeing him this year be a leader on the team, watching him mature and just get some touchdowns, get some tick. It was dope. Even seeing him get a couple catches. Just not a loud rah guy, but he waited his turn and did things the right way. So I'm gonna go with Rick Wells, man. Off the radar a little bit. I could win with Randy, but Randy ain't play.
Yeah.
Shout out to Randy Russ.
You ever see his dog when you're doing your Zooms with him?
Yeah.
I used to live in the same apartment complex with him. He has got that dog must be 90 pounds. It must be like some kind of pit bull mix.
It's a monster.
It's a horse.
What is up with all them boys got pit bulls, man? They have
they must have got a plug with a breeder in town.
Man, it's hard to live with them. I used to have pit bulls. It's hard to live in neighborhoods with them. I had to quit that hobby.
My favorite senior, I'll go two. One Randy Russell.
It's a good one.
Just for everything that he's gone through, just to stick with it. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if someone told me if I was good enough to go to a school like Florida on a scholarship, and then somebody, as soon as I show up to campus, like, oh, hey, by the way, that's not happening anymore. So figure it out. What's plan B? There is no plan B. And then my other one is Damian Pierce, the king of the press conference. Damian Pierce shout out to Cassidy. He brought Cassidy up. We FaceTimed Cassidy when he showed up to the podium, and he held the phone with her up there. He's a great guy. Great young man. That's the kind of person you want representing your university. He's a funny guy too.
I love it. I'm gonna go Damian Pierce as well. Just a hell of a player. Guy I think is gonna have a great NFL career. I hope he does. I hope he gets the chance to get on a team, get on a roster, because I think that he's the type of back that you want. I think he runs hard. He's a north-south runner, and he doesn't have a lot of miles under his feet. So hopefully a fresh guy going into college. So while we were doing that, while you guys were talking, Dan Mullen has been announced as a special guest for SEC portion of game day from the SEC championship. So Dan Mullen will be on your TVs. You'll be out of hiding for the first time since last Sunday. So be on the lookout. Big show today. We've got Ross Dellenger coming on to talk about Billy Napier. We've got Chris Landry coming on the show to talk about Billy Napier. And then you've got all of us breaking down our takes about Billy Napier, who is the Gators' next head coach, coming to UF from Louisiana Lafayette, where he's currently sitting at an 11-1 record with the Sun Belt Championship conference game on the line on Saturday against Appalachian State. The announcement was made on Sunday afternoon, November 28th, which is a day that we told you guys both on Twitter and on this podcast is a day to look out for. So a lot of backstory going into that. We'll break that down a little bit more after we get Ross on. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Visit homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale. Get 15% off of your order. It is the holiday season. It is gift giving time. Gift your significant other, friend, spouse, relative, neighbor, coworker with their favorite apparel. Obviously, we encourage you to buy the University of Florida apparel, but that code does work on over I think it's over 100 schools. It's an incredible amount. All sorts of sizes of school too. So check your alma mater, check your significant other's alma mater. Great products, high quality, high class. Homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium in Gale. Let's get Ross Dellenger on the line.
On that note, I collect, like when I go visit other schools for work, I collect like I have a shirt from LSU, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Tulane's got some awesome designs on home field.
Sure
Tulane, West Virginia does too.
Yo, real quick,
2, 1. My buddy, whiskey, bourbon connoisseur, SI writer, Ross Dellenger, on the road. Thank you for joining us as you travel throughout the college football landscape. How are you in lovely Texas?
Yeah, good, Nick. I just went from well, let's see. My road trip, I'm right in the middle of a 23-day road trip, which probably was poorly planned, but I went from DC, where I live, to Ohio, to Columbus, Ohio, for Ohio State, Michigan State, which was a lovely game, 49-0 at halftime. And then stayed there for a few days, and then flew to Biloxi, where I'm from, for Thanksgiving, then flew to Oklahoma City for Bedlam, and just drove from Oklahoma City to Dallas today. So it's been long and winding, and I'll stay here for about a week or so, cover the CFP meetings, Big 12 championship, and then probably head out to Vegas for the Football Foundation stuff.
Oh yeah, we feel really bad for you heading out to Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas in December, it stinks, huh?
Ross,
go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, before we dive too deep, I want to make sure that we talk about this first. Bourbon of choice.
Oh,
More.
I mean, I drink. I'm not real particular, but I mean, like, I love a good Buffalo Trace. I love I'm a big Woodford Reserve fan, and then usually in my decanter, I have 2 decanters. Usually, I keep one decanter is the cheap bourbon, and one decanter is the high priced. And the cheap bourbon isn't really that cheap, but it's kind of always my mainstay is Makers, and then the other one, the other decanter, kind of gets rotated with some of the better stuff.
I love it. All right, Nick, go ahead and talk about the more important stuff.
If I visit in DC, which decanter would be opened?
You're the cheap. You get the cheap stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes sense.
You got some Jim Beam laying around?
Yeah.
That's
Kentucky gentleman.
I don't know how I've become like the guy that gets kicked around on this podcast, and our guests don't get clued in on this, but they just jump right in, don't miss a beat. Ross, we talked. I reached out to Ross before the announcement happened, just trying to get a sense of Billy Napier, and I think you know him a little bit from being around that area. But I wanted to talk a little bit with you at the time about kind of the politics of Louisiana, and Scott Woodward's from Baton Rouge. He's grown up in it, and I almost equated it to, well, if Billy Napier was FIU's coach, would Florida fans want Billy Napier? And it was kind of like you called it like a little brother syndrome. Is Florida lucky that LSU didn't come calling Billy Napier?
If Florida fans want Billy Napier, they are lucky that LSU didn't come calling. I think that I don't know. It is hard to say, but I will say that I think the Billy Napier camp, so to speak, last weekend when Florida was pursuing, made it clear to LSU that Florida is pursuing, and this is probably your last opportunity to get in. And they said no. So I think Florida should be probably pretty happy that LSU didn't get in the mix. And I think there were some Florida administrators that were concerned that LSU might try to get in the mix, and they did not. So, and like you said, yeah, in the state of Louisiana, it's almost like a big brother. It's not even big brother, little brother. It's big brother, little sister. There, it really is. That's how they treat it. That's how they look at them. And so politically, there certainly are issues in going and plucking, UL's coach to come save the flagship program. I think they're there are issues there. But it's not only that. I think that any Group of 5 head coach would probably be frowned upon by LSU. I mean, I think they believe they have a good enough job to go get somebody in a bigger position. That's how they look at it. It's maybe the arrogant way to look at it, but that's how they look at it.
They
Well,
in trouble
right now, Scott Woodward looks like 21-year-old Nick at closing time at the bar. He's just like throwing Hail
Yeah.
Marys. Like I saw
yeah.
Brian Kelly's name pop up today. Lincoln Riley was just given half of Southern California to go out there. So listen, and maybe Billy Napier doesn't work out, and probably not what the people here, listening to our podcast want to hear. But if Billy Napier works out at Florida, that's not going to look good on Scott Woodward for certain.
No, and to the SEC changes their scheduling format, as you guys know, that probably will happen when OU and Texas get in the league. LSU and Florida play every year, and so LSU is going to get an annual dose, at least for the next 3 years or so, of Billy Napier. And I think there's a decent contingent of LSU fans that wanted them to hire Billy Napier. But there's probably a bigger contingent that wanted them to go get a bigger star and the flashy name and all.
Russ, I want to ask you just about Billy Napier, just as a coach. A lot of fans have followed Billy Napier for maybe one game now, maybe two. Certainly they're acting like experts. They've read articles. But what is it about Billy Napier that made him an attractive candidate? And then on the flip side, what was Billy Napier looking for in a job? Because he's obviously turned down a number of opportunities over the last couple of years to go from a Group of 5 school to an SEC school.
Well, Billy is a country boy from North Georgia, coach's son. Obviously had a lot of Nick Saban rubbed off on him. His whole program, which I've got a chance to visit a couple times, his whole program is geared around Nick Saban's style, his organization, his off the field support staff. It's so important to Billy, the off the field nature of this whole thing, and having the deep support staff and having the commitment from administration, from AD to president and so on. And that's why to get to your second question, that's why he's turned down or pulled his name out of so many other jobs. Baylor, Auburn, Mississippi State, South Carolina. I mean, it's really could go on and on. And one of the reasons is he is particular. He wants a commitment from off the field support staff type. He wants a commitment from in alignment of AD, president, all that stuff. He wants a blue blood type situation program where you can win a national championship. And I think he's found that in Florida.
Real quick,
and I think real quick, Silk. I think Scott Strickland was talking directly to Billy Napier. I think you were on that press conference that Sunday when he said, there's boosters, there's board of trustees, and they're not really getting in the mix here at Florida like some other universities. That was a guy who knew who he wanted, knew probably why some talks fell through in the past, and was speaking directly to the guy he was targeting and saying, listen, if you didn't like that, the structure at Auburn when you were talking to them last year, that's not what we have over here. Scott Strickland was selling the job to Billy Napier, before the job was probably even offered to him.
Yep. They've been, I think, as they've been scouting Billy for quite a while, scouting a handful of candidates for quite a while. I think each one of Scott Strickland's lieutenants got a couple of candidates to scout. And this could have been, multiple months ago. And they each scouted him and did all the research. So he had everything he needed about Billy and his past and in his situation and why he maybe turned down some other jobs. And you're right. He probably was speaking kind of directly to him about that. And yeah, that was smart because I'm sure that if I had to guess, Billy heard those words and heard that plan.
Real quick, how important is play calling to Billy and his offense?
Yeah, he calls all the plays, and and that's one thing that I guess the blemish in Billy's uh, career probably is what happened at Clemson. Him and Dabo, I think it's pretty public. They kind of knocked heads there on whether it be strategy or offensive vision, whatever you want to call it. And Billy, I think has a plan offensively, and it's his plan. And I don't think a lot of people are going to be changing his plan. And I'm sure he's going to call the plays, and that's how he likes it. He's really that is kind of non-negotiable with him, just from hearing about it. And he's a creative offensive mind. He's not going to I don't know if I describe. He certainly runs a spread. They do run a spread, but he runs the ball. That is something that he's big on. He runs the ball and wants to control line of scrimmage.
Steve Spurrier famously said, "If you get a job because you called plays, don't give up that responsibility when you get that job." So I think some Florida fans and I getting your first Power 5. Go ahead.
Here's my take. Like, I don't mind if he do call the plays, but I do would like some other input from OC on some different styles of offense to add to what he has. Is my take. I am interested in Willie Corn and some other guys he worked with before in the past. Willie Corn got some real interesting concepts in his offense. So I don't mind him as a play caller. I just don't want his entire playbook. So I'm interested to see who his OC is going to be.
Yeah, Billy's last OC that left him now is in the NFL. Rob Sale, he actually is a LSU guy, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Rob back in the mix. I think they have a really good relationship. I don't know if Rob want to come back, but he's Rob's a whole offensive line guy. So once again, he puts a premium on the O line and on controlling that line of scrimmage. And I shouldn't say that Billy is not. He's adaptive. I think he's a guy that will listen to others. But yeah, he's certainly going to have the final say. And when you work for Dabo Swinney, you can't have the final say. And I think that probably is part of what happened there.
What can you tell us? We hear a lot about detail oriented. I think, does he call it the plan or does he call it the process? And listen, Florida has gone through this with Saban guys. Jim McElwain came in and talked about the 36-month schedule that has everything on it, so you're never surprised when something happens. And Florida watched that coaching staff be surprised by many things, despite the calendar. So what makes this different? What is his process? And just, I guess, if you can tell Florida fans the kind of person that's coming in to be their coach.
Well, he is process oriented. It is all about that. When you hear him talk, it's a lot like listening to Nick Saban when he talks about the process and the off the field stuff. And I'd say 90% of Billy's focus is on the off the field. He starts there. That's kind of like the foundation. It's the strength staff. It's the evaluation. The walk-on program is huge. It's part of what turned him off. I think with TCU, it's private school. They don't have as many walk-on spots, or it's difficult to get walk-ons, whatever. Something about that, because he did interview at TCU. And I think that all that is important. They do two spotting, which is a long time in a Nick Saban practice kind of format where you have four teams at the same time going. It's always go, go, go. His practices are intense. So yeah, it's all about the whole process and and I know it's cliche to kind of say that stuff now, but I spent time over there, and it really is like the culture process type thing. It really is. And all of his staff, loves working for him. And a lot of them could have left him for bigger jobs when he turned down bigger jobs. And a lot of them didn't. They kind of hitched their wagon to Billy because they do believe in him.
Ross, where do you rank? There's a lot of discussion, with the LSU job, obviously the USC job, the Florida job. Where do you rank, Florida? Obviously, I know every coach is looking for something different, but there's a lot of discussion about where does that Florida job rank. It seems like Florida was able to go out and get their top target lock on pretty quickly. But how does from an outside perspective, outside of the SEC, how does the Florida job compare to a lot of these other big name programs?
Yeah, no, this season, it was like mid-season. There was this big debate on what the better job is. It's also subjective. It just is. I mean, I think there are probably, two or three things that you look at or evaluate when you're trying to make that list of good jobs. And the first thing is the recruiting territory that you're in, and Florida pretty much can't be in a better position when it comes to that. You're not only are you pretty close to Atlanta, but you're in the state of Florida that produces maybe the best skill players of any state in the country. So it's got you check that box for sure, and then you got the resources, and I don't think Florida's lacking there. And then you kind of have the like support facilities, whatever you want to call it. And I know that Florida has been lacking in that category, right, for a little bit. And I think there are plans, if I'm not correct, in enhancing some of that. So those are the three things you look at. And I mean, Florida's pretty up there. I mean, it's got to be, I was having during this past week before all the news came out that he had actually, committed to Florida and was going to sign with them. There was kind of a debate if LSU did come back at Billy, he would have a tough decision because those jobs are fairly similar. They're in pretty good recruiting territories. They have really good resources. I think people would tell you that LSU probably has, when it comes to facilities, probably is better, but I know Florida is in the middle of enhancing things. So they're both fairly similar. They're both top 5, top 8 jobs.
Yeah, I think that's why Florida worked so expeditiously to make this happen. And thank you, Scott Strickland, because a 7-day coaching search, fantastic. Can't imagine. I mean, I know USC got a guy now, but it feels like Todd Helton was fired 3 years ago. They've been in the coaching search for a while. So happy that it's over. Now what? 14 assistants. So it's not totally over, but one of them is done. Ross, we want to thank you. I look forward to talking to you to see how not to make Billy hate me at the opening press conference.
Hey, real quick, Billy? Hey, tell him to unblock me. I don't know why you got me blocked.
Bro, you were probably talking reckless when he was at Alabama.
Yeah.
You were definitely talking reckless.
It's weird because Billy's, I guess I know him well, but not well enough, I guess, to know about his Twitter. But he has gotten a couple of other people blocked, and I don't feel like Billy.
No, I was talking reckless. I deleted the tweets so he can't see them. Somebody who was having a conversation about OCs back at the time. I think we had Muschamp, and somebody was saying Billy Napier, and I was saying, "Are you nuts?"
Listen, Silk's not pleading not guilty. He earned the ban. He just wants it to be reversed. He's trying to get
for sure.
He's
a changed fan,
it wasn't that egregious. Big Napier fan. Give me that.
Always have been.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he doesn't seem like a Twitter guy. So it really would surprise me that he goes and blocks people. I wonder if it's somebody else doing that for him. But
right, real quick, Ross, his demeanor, he has a calm about him. What do you think about him as a person? Like, he has like a different type of calm. Like, just watching him in interview, I've been going Napier deep, but he has a calm about him that's a little different. What do you think about him personally, like his demeanor?
He is. I would use the word chill. Like he's laid back, man. I mean, he's got that, Northern Georgia, like country accent and just way about him. He's really relaxed and doesn't say a ton. I mean, he's not super chatty. But the things he does say, again, some things remind me of Nick Saban. The things he does say, kind of speak,
Right.
speak loudly to you, even though he's not saying a lot. So, but he's a chill guy.
Does he look like Bobby Hill from King of the Hill? That could be his cartoon character.
Maybe.
Dan's been selling this, man, like all week.
No, that's Nick. Nick's been selling it.
I'm sorry, Nick.
Might be his cartoon character. It could be. Who knows? Sorry for having fun, Silk. My bad.
No. That was your hint. That was his hint for the coach. When everybody's sending out their little smoke signals on who it may be.
Mine was the
That's
funniest.
the picture that Nick put out there for the streets.
People were like, his
Very
name's
good.
Billy, not Bobby. And I was like, yeah, man, I know. Just think he looks like the cartoon. All right, Ross.
All right, guys.
before we get crazy here, you can tell people where to find you, where to yell at you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you go to si.com and follow me on Twitter at Ross Dellenger.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, Ross. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys.
Enjoy
See y'all.
Vegas.
Thanks.
All right, we got another special guest joining us here in a moment. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks. Go visit them, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use promo code STADIUM and get 10% off of your order. Again, promo code STADIUM. Vacuum sealed, great for coffee in the morning or drink in the morning or drink. They've got tumblers, they've got large 32-ounce cups, 20-ounce cups, 24-ounce cups, whatever you may need, even protein shake cups. Check them out, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use promo code STADIUM for 10% off. But before we move on to our takes about Billy Napier, we're bringing on a living legend in the college football game. It's Chris Landry. Chris, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you doing?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, breaking down the Billy Napier hire, just had Ross Dellenger from Sports Illustrated on. Excited to get your take. Just overarching themes, thoughts on the hire, fit for Florida. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Well, I think Billy's a really good coach. He's got he grew up around the game. He's really worked for some good people, obviously, with my background working with Nick. I've gotten to know him, Billy, pretty well. He's just a bright young coach that has been a tireless recruiter, which is a big part of what they were looking for. Good evaluator and just really, really worked at it really hard as an assistant. And has got really good organizational skills, I think, to put together a good staff. And, I think I think he's ready for this opportunity. He's done a really good job of ULL. And, I think that, it's, you never know until you get one of these opportunities. It's different. But he's, the experience and the background and the knowledge that he has. People like working with him and for him. So I think he's really good hire. It's, I mentioned that, he had a really good game plan in the interview when he discussed it with him, how he was going to do it, the assistants he was going to target, everything. And, it was a pretty easy sell. Scott's actually been working this even before Dan was let go in the possibility that he might have to do that. And if he didn't, and I think we were all looking at it thinking, I don't know how this is going to play out. And if it had finished like 8-4 and things were getting better, it might have been different. And I think they were thinking that as well. But I think he deserves a lot of credit for being prepared for what he might have to do so that when he had to do it, it didn't take him long to go and wrap it up and get it done. And, I've been involved in a lot of coaching search work. Sometimes you just, you work in the fit and it takes a while. It just, it's hard to explain. And then other times it just, it hits. It's, I like to tell it with folks, it's a lot like matchmaking. Sometimes the chemistry's there and then the sparks fly, and sometimes it's just like, oh goodness, this may take a little work, and then yet it gets stronger and stronger, and you go back and you look. And I always tell guys all the time, interview as many people as possible because it's good information gathering process. But when you got your guy, and I think that they definitely feel like they got theirs. I know they feel like they got it, and we'll see down the road how it plays out.
Yeah, I think Scott Strickland identified Billy probably even before this season, that you have a working list of guys. Hey, if we get into a position where we're looking for a coach, what's our working list? And you're always moving names up and down and on and off that list. I think probably after that South Carolina game, you reach out and start gauging interest. We were just talking to Ross Dellenger. I think with LSU being open, Scott figured this is our guy. We need to expeditiously go after him because there's other jobs out there right now. So credit to Scott. I think I said it. I think this will be the first time since I've been covering Florida that when an AD walks up and says, this is the only guy we talked to, this is the only guy we offered it to, that, you won't say BS. I think this was his guy. And I think he was afforded the opportunity to make this hire on his own without pressure, because I don't know that an SEC athletic director gets to hire 3 football coaches. So this, I think, is Scott's on all Scott. Hey, whoever you're hitching your wagon to, this is going to be you. So I think Scott was afforded the opportunity to make this decision on his own. And credit to him for identifying a guy, aggressively going after him, and closing the deal in a week.
Well, I think a lot of guys too. I notice this a lot with athletic directors. They tend to want to go to win the press conference and make the splash hire, because if it's the splash hire, then it's, well, I did my job, and if it doesn't work, well, who can blame me? It's not my fault.
And if that were the case, Lane Kiffin does that for you.
Well, the reality is it's not your job. Your job is to get the best guy for the job, and to hell with if people don't like it. They'll like it when you start winning, and if you didn't get it right, then you didn't do your job, whether it was popular or not. I think that, but we live more and more in the world of how people are going to perceive you and look, to the point of, and I don't think it necessarily started, but it was the height of it was the Tennessee situation with Shiano, where it was, and this is a lot of reason of the floating out of things to where I think there's sometimes an all and out panic. What if we have this backlash? What if it's this? And I think that has a lot to do with some of the leakage of, it's the old political narrative. You think about trying to pass a bill, you float the idea out there, and then, if the wind says, people don't want it, we weren't going to do that. Who said that? And, and then if it is, then and I think a lot of that takes place, which I think too much of it. And the reason is most administrators, well, I mean, very few, they're not from a football background, so they really don't know coaches from being a coach. I think those of us that coached, the old athletic directors were guys that were ex-coaches. Make the phone call, called the guys, got it done. Now you're dealing with agents, and the agents deal with coaching searches. 10% of the agents represent 90% of the coaches. So they deal with just plenty of coaching searches every year. They'll deal with more coaching searches in 1 year than any 10 athletic directors will in their entire career, because you're not going to get 5 bites at the apple of hiring a coach. You're lucky if you get a second one, or a third, certainly. So I think they have the edge in the negotiations, and they can kind of put the pressure, because if you've got 3 guys and they're all candidates, you can kind of manipulate the situation. So I think it's a challenge for administrators. But I'm happy about it. All I don't do the coaching searches. I do the evaluations, and it helps. I'm glad that they're that way. It helps me. But I think that's a big part of the problem that a lot of ADs have.
Chris, I want to ask you, obviously Nick Saban and his coaching tree have put a lot of coaches into, group of 5 jobs and power 5 jobs with, mixed level of success. You have your Mark Richt, and then you have your, we'll say Jim McElwain, right? Or mixed bag of success. What is it about Billy Napier that really has kind of stuck out for him, top name of proteges under Nick Saban, where, it's not just kind of the fire in the barrel type of guy, but a guy that seems to be highly taught it for such a long time and has had, success. What are some of his personality traits that have led to that?
Look, time will tell whether, he's going to be more Kirby Smart or Jim McElwain. I mean, I think the personalities are the traits that he's very, very organized. Like, for example, I think Will Muschamp was a really good recruiter, but I don't think he really had a good overall big field vision of how to maybe run and handle recruiting from an offensive standpoint, not real eclectic with his offensive views, and didn't quite really struggle to find in both stops that he had as head coaches to find that. But he had a lot of other qualities. Jim, even Dan, who was not one of his, it's a little bit more of recruiting issues. I think if Billy's going to have success, it's because his dogged determination as a recruiter. In administrators, whether it's college or the NFL, they tend to go to fix the biggest problem of the previous guy. I mean, the guy's a hard edge guy, maybe a more players coach, offensive guy in defense. The biggest issue with Dan was not just the recruiting results, but why. Members of that coaching staff, they really surprising how little they met on recruiting, how little they spent time looking at film as a staff, how little emphasis they put on it on a regular basis, comparatively speaking to others. So they want to get somebody that's just the opposite. Billy is that. Billy's also a guy that's a serious thinker, but he's easy to get along with. I think those are qualities that I think were appealing, maybe as opposed to Dan. Comparatively speaking to the guys that Nick has had, he's had different types of guys. You mentioned Will. You mentioned Lane. Lane's a free spirit and very still in some ways a little immature. Billy's very mature, very very straight-laced, kind of a guy, just family man. He's actually
I gotta see some wins, but man, on paper, bro, I like him on paper.
He's actually the next door neighbor to my godchild in Lafayette. My godchild is his next door neighbor, and they're
Hey,
the
can you
same
get him
age.
to unblock me?
Unblock you? What does that mean?
Never mind.
Twitter.
We'll talk about it later.
On Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, if I knew how to do that. If I do that, I'd help you. If I knew how to do that, I'd help you.
Real quick.
You just tell me. I don't know what this is. What the hell is he talking about? Block you?
No,
I might say,
don't sweat it.
Get down in the stance. Get down in the stance.
Silk earned that blocking. He earned that blocking, and now he's trying to get out of jail on good behavior.
It's not my first rodeo.
We'll get you fixed up.
I appreciate it. I do have a question. You talked about in the tweet that you were mentioning that the staff wise that he kind of presented to the staff or in the interview who he would be ready to hire. Do you think he goes with an older DC with like Jim Knowles or maybe a younger guy?
Well, I don't want to get too far into that. I don't want to let Billy I think I know who his defensive coordinator will be if he can get it. But there's
DM me. I won't tell nobody. I promise.
Yeah, I do that. Well, what I'll do is I'll tell Billy to do it. But since you're blocked, it don't matter.
Tell Billy to send me a message.
Maybe that doesn't work. Look, I think here's the other thing I will say about it, without specifics. And let me just say this. Cheap plug, LandryFootball.com. I put a list of a whole bunch of guys that I think have a lot of the qualities. He's been around a lot of good coaches, from Clemson, but a lot of the Alabama guys that have moved on. Who he's going to get, who he can get. I think there's a lot of different possibilities that I think will be good fits. But in terms of who, I don't think it's necessarily an older guy. Look, I think I think he's got a guy at ULL that is phenomenal. He may end up getting the head job at ULL for all I know, and Tony. So I give you that one. But there's some other guys he could bring in. I love Jim Knowles, by the way, and Jim is someone that's done a great job at Oklahoma State. And I think, people like Florida, whatever, they're going to pay a lot of money, or it's going to be hard for Oklahoma State to keep them.
Yeah, that was a name that I heard. I told these guys before the Napier hire was announced that there was a lot of connection with Jim Knowles. I know that there's some connection and talk with Doug Belk over at Houston and things of that nature as well. But before pontificating too much about what that future staff may look like with names, is there a certain type of philosophy that he's looking for out of his coaches besides, the dogged recruiter and everything else? There's a certain style of offense, and obviously we know he runs a bit of a spread, but certain offense or defensive schematics that he's looking at when building up the staff.
Yeah, offensively, he'll give a little more freedom to the defensive guys. Offensively, he's got a little bit of an eclectic, approach that he's taken. It's kind of a little bit of what Alabama has done in the past with some of their one-back spread stuff, with some pro alignments. The thing I do like, and I'm a believer in that, I think that you've got to be aggressive offensively, but you've got to be real effective at complementing your defense. And I think you do that with a real good running game too. And I think that's what he wants to do. So, I think the whole just flat out, let's score a million points. You see that if you can't finish games with a 4-minute offense, you can't be as good in a 2 and a 4-minute offense. I think it limits you. I think it gives you a ceiling. There's no question about it. And I know a lot of what he learned from the running game was from Joe Pendry. And I think a lot of the play action comes from that. I think you can see some elements of what Lane put in when Nick brought him in there to basically, Nick told him what he wanted. And I don't know if people know this, but the offense that Lane run with the ARPA is not his offense. It was literally, and this is a tribute to Lane, Lane ran a completely different offense at USC. He came in, and during the time when he got fired on the tarmac, and he had plenty of time, and he hired him for the bowl game, not for the bowl game, but at that time, he said, this is what I want to do. And Lane researched it, Lane studied, and Lane put that together, which, by the way, is the real key to good offenses. Schemes don't win. It's the ability to adjust and modify schemes, because schemes change. It's a constant evolving. You change and you adjust. The ability to be able to modify what you do. People that are married to a scheme they die on the vine pretty quickly. I think he will be really good at implementing what he wants, but giving guys the freedom to go out. Let's get it better. Let's make it, even better than we've had it. And I think he'll take a lot of Todd Graham stuff that he did at Arizona State. He's been around a lot of good people in a lot of good places. So I'm curious to see what he does defensively. I know that they want to be physical up front. I think that, from that standpoint, they're going to be a little bit more recruiting to fit a certain skill set and a style, and offensively, they're going to look for playmakers and build around those guys, which is basically the philosophy at Alabama.
What about there was a groundswell of support from Florida players to keep Nick Savage, and I understand that from the player standpoint. That's the coach you're around the most. But from a coaching standpoint, you have to know and trust that strength and conditioning coordinator, because they're going to be shaping your team. They're going to be with your team more than you are because of NCAA rules. I know that Mark Hawk is there with Billy. I just don't know. And maybe you bring Hawk over and keep Savage, so there's some continuity. But what do you think? How Billy? What's his relationship with Hawk, and what do you think he'll do in terms of a strength and conditioning?
It's as important a position as you have, because they're around those players all the time. The very simple answer is the head coach has to come in and has to hire guys that he's comfortable with, and he needs to sit down and he needs to, just like interviewing him as a head coaching candidate, you gotta be really comfortable. It's fine to say, well, this guy's really good. He should say, I've been around this a million times. It's about how you work together and be on the same page. And I just can't answer it. I can't answer the chemistry part because that's got to happen organically. I've seen it where, I've been a holdover coach a couple of times. I can't really explain why, but it's just it's going to have to be determined organically whether it's something that he feels that not, and it's not competency. It's about philosophically, are we seeing it the same way, or is it more because it's tough sometimes for guys if they put in their structure and then you've got to go and you've got to change it, and you might not think that that's the best way because you've been doing it this way, but the new head coach wants to do. You've got to iron that out, and I think if you can, yeah, it's great. If not, then I think you move on. I think that happens sometimes where, and this is where people I think mess things up. But Brian Harsin had a situation at Auburn. Was encouraged to keep a guy and a couple of guys, and one of them didn't work out during the beginning. I mean, and it was like 3 games into the season. You don't want that. I mean, but when you're encouraged to do it and you believe in it and you trust, then you realize you get in there. My receivers can't run the same route twice. I just can't have this, and it just sets you back, and you certainly don't want to have to do that during the season. So you certainly want to make sure that in an off-season conditioning program that things are, you don't want to have to be looking over somebody's shoulder. Did I make the right decision? I think that's a tough ask for me because it just has to be something organically that they figure out themselves.
Chris, there were some reports of Napier making some demands or wanting some different type of support infrastructure wise. Do you know any details of what he was asking for?
My sense is obviously he has an idea of what he wants in terms of a support staff, analyst roles. I'm sure they had facility talks. You guys are aware of what's, in the spring, and I've in the firm belief that all 3 of the Florida schools kind of, because of their success and locale and recruiting, I think they all kind of got a little lax with facilities over time. And I think those things are, sometimes you're constantly chasing, things there. But I think that what he's trying to put in place is, and this is important, I really think it's important. I think he's learned this. If we're going to do things the right way, we're going to have to do things. This is what we need. This is what we believe in. Now, at ULL, he did things on a different budget, but he did things like he took the same whole critical factors of how he evaluate players, the same thing that I helped Nick. Nick and I was together at the Belichick staff in Cleveland. When he went to Michigan State, said, I want to put together the same program to evaluate players here. And he tweaked it when he went to LSU, and he actually took it to Miami, and he took the concept to Alabama. Billy's got the same thing. He's learned that same thing. Well, that requires a certain flow chart of how players are going to be evaluated, where everybody's on the same page, and he wants to have a staff that can do that, but that every position coach then goes up to the coordinator and the head coach, not going to offer a guy until everyone completes that process. And then in terms of how you look ahead and evaluate players, explaining we now need to have a special room that is for what we term, I'm going to my NFL roots and background now. We have a pro personnel room where we evaluate pro personnel, every player in the league that's graded and potential free agents. You better have that now and call it the transfer portal room or whatever you want to call it. But that's what it's about. Okay, who's going to do that? How are you going to track it? Who's going to be evaluating? All that, that takes manpower that others have. He also knows very well what the chief rival in the East is doing. Georgia has the largest support staff right now in the conference, even more than Alabama's. They certainly spend more money because a lot of time Nick takes these guys that are getting a lot of money from getting fired in buyouts. So, it's all that's what he's trying to get through. That's what he's trying to make sure that those things are in place. That's not abnormal, though. That's what is done in any situation that you have and say, this is what I want, this is what I need. And that's it. He had that in mind when he was looking at South Carolina and in other places that he's had. But at Florida, you can have that. You should have that. And everything that they're going to do at Georgia, if you're not doing at Florida, well, shame on you as an administration, because you expect to have the same results. It's like I tell the folks all the time that they get upset that, at Florida State, they did things a certain way, and it was successful for a long time. But they let Clemson get so darn far ahead of them in terms of infrastructure and, facilities and all. So now there's a huge gap. You don't want that to happen. You don't want that to be, a huge gap that it takes you a long time to overcome, because if you do your job and you have the same resources, well, then you should be held accountable. But if you don't, then that's on you as an administration, not on the coach, because you're not playing with a stacked deck. And I think that's all he was trying to do. And I think that's all any coach tries to do and is, hey, what are you going to allow us to do to have success, and what are you committed to doing with us?
How patient should Gator Nation be? What are we looking at with this hire?
Listen, Silk, I
trail,
watched Oregon, Utah. Be patient. That might be an ugly first game. Oregon with Utah coming to the Swamp. That Utah team, I didn't know that they played physical football out west. And that team, strap your chin strap up, man. Utah's going to hit.
Good. Utah. Kyle has.
Nick hype everybody up, though. Just let you know that, Landry.
Yeah, Kyle has the best developmental program. We talk about the best developmental programs in the country. You can look at Iowa. You can look at Wisconsin. In the SEC, it's kind of a Kentucky with what Mark does. Nobody does it better than Kyle at Utah. Those guys are physical. They're tough. Now, get them early in the year, which they do, because like well-coached teams, they get better as the year goes along, and they are tough. They are this year again. But be that as it may, how patient? Look, fans are not going to be patient, so it doesn't matter what I say. I think that here's what you've got to look at is what they're able to do in recruiting, and we know that it's tough in the first year to just kind of hold it together. They're a little bit behind the eight ball this year on that. What they're able to do there, I think, is going to be interesting to watch. And then I think you got to see the overall talent level get to the point, because they're not quite where Georgia is, but they're still pretty talented. Anybody tell you, well, Florida's not any good. It's not about, well, it may not be as talented as Florida, but what you don't want to see is, what we've seen this year where they've just really played down to some weak opponents, even in some games that they've won. I think look at the energy, look at the organization. I think over time it'll take some time. I would say this, that anytime a new coach comes in, the early part of the tenure is more reflective of what he inherited than the longer he's there, it's more his program, if you will. I think the first year, it's culture building. I don't know how bad the culture is. I think it got bad real quick. But sometimes when the culture gets bad real quick, it's just mainly frustration, just sensibility that all is lost. That can be quickly turned around. If you've got a lot of guys, Florida State had a really bad culture that the guy that's there now inherited. That takes a while to fix, because then you got to root guys out. And yet, if you root everybody out, well, then to answer your question, 3 years from now, you'll be trying to, win 8 games. And you don't want that. I don't think Florida's in that situation. I think this is a quick fix to turn around and be successful. Now, if the fans think, well, when are we going to beat Georgia? Well, you know what? You're behind Georgia right now. Let's just call it what it is.
For sure.
And you're quite a bit behind them.
But we got a talent gap issue, and I do like him out of every candidate. That's why I had him at number 1, because if we got to close the talent gap, we need a recruiter and a dog and somebody with his demeanor. So I do like
Now,
him for
now,
closing the
I will
talent
tell
gap.
you this, not to interrupt you, Corey. I'll tell you this. They probably won't tell you this, but because I don't think they, but because they don't like the comparison or whatever, and it's unfair. But they think that the question about how does he match up, compared to the Saban, I think they see him as more Kirby Smart like a guy that's going to recruit well, build a culture, and that's what they're hoping it can be. And if he
Oh,
can
ready
be,
to lie, Chris.
if he can be, now here's the thing, Georgia, what they've done with their facilities now, they are even when Florida finishes in the spring, they'll still be, still work to go. But you start going in that direction and getting that type of personnel, that gives you a chance. And then, I think you can't be in a situation where you have to upcoach to beat somebody. I mean, last year they beat Georgia, and really it was about some of the things Georgia couldn't do. That shouldn't be. Florida shouldn't go in with the idea that, well, we need Georgia to stumble for us to beat them. That should be you know, just an even match, and in a few years perhaps it can be. But right now it's not. So
You
we'll
just
see.
need somebody that's going to take that rivalry personal, and I think Napier has a relationship with all of those guys. Kirby, Nick, like he got all those guys don't like each other a little bit. They friends, they coach together, but it's a little rivalry there, and you need somebody with that energy. Mullen was just too nice. Like he was okay with losing recruits to Georgia. Like that just can't be a thing.
But Dan was I like Dan. Probably not as much as Dan liked Dan, but I liked him. Dan,
Talking Dan
Dan,
Mullen here. Not
That's a take.
yeah, Dan Mullen.
I like that take.
He liked the idea, if he could, to beat people with perceived less talent or reality less talent, because it's look what I did, and it's
Ego.
yeah, it's just it was more into that. And look, you got to go and get the best players that you can, and you've got to do the best job. And at Mississippi State, you can do that and develop guys and have a pretty good developmental program and go to bowl games and have a really really good career and a really nice job. And he had one, and he'd still have it. You're going to take the Florida job, you understand that that's not the same type of job. It's not the same type of expectations. And you sure as hell can't recruit the same type of players. And you can't have that type of attitude that, well, we'll slow play guys in recruiting and we'll find our type of guys and we'll develop them. They'll be here. Ain't going to be there that long at Florida. I mean, they're going to come in. They're going to, they're going to want to play. They're going to play early. They don't play. They're going to transfer. And if they don't produce, you're not going to be coaching them. I mean, this is a picture perfect case of, my goodness, you blinked and you got a guy that was, last year it's top of the world, it beat Georgia, look out, they're going to do this. I mean, you talk about the air completely out of the balloon. It just burst.
He thought he was out of here. He thought he was getting an NFL job, man. You got
Well,
Heisman candidate, beat Georgia, huh?
He tried to pull the James Franklin approach. You feel a little heat, so you get your name thrown into these jobs to where, oh man, you know what, the Jets are interested in him, and this school likes him. Well, maybe he's a lot better than we think. It's kind of like it just, hey, you have the pretty girl on your arm, you look a little handsomer to the other girls. So that's the little game that these guys play sometimes, and I think Dan kind of got caught into that a little bit, unfortunately.
So what's next for Dan? Do you think he takes some time? Do you think he gets another head job? Do you think he drops down to be a coordinator? Or
well, he's got some time and money to figure that out. I do think he has some value as, if he wants to, as a coordinator in the NFL. Which he's got to decide. I don't know that Dan doesn't like recruiting. I don't think he necessarily maybe this.
I know.
Because he worked hard at recruiting at Mississippi State, finding his type of guys. Now, if he's not into recruiting, well, then obviously he's got to look at some opportunities in the NFL. If he wants to go at a place to where he can be a head coach, there's certainly some value at him going to a place that's a developmental program And if he wants to do along the lines of what he did at Mississippi State, he was very successful with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. I don't know. The ego and the money, and he's got time to maybe make that decision. I don't know. People say, was he going to sit out a year? And I don't think he knows. I think the right opportunity comes along in 2 months. Yeah, he may jump on it. It doesn't, then you wait. You don't just jump in. It just really depends on how he feels. I'm not quite sure. Megan may say, I'm tired of you, get out. And he may just go and, coach somewhere.
The wives are always like, man, you're never around. And then you get fired and you're around. They're like, hey, let's find you a new coaching job, huh?
Well, they're so used to living their own lives that, because the coaches are never around, it's like, man, I don't like him being around in my business. I like doing my own thing.
The card if you right over my shoulder.
Yeah, it's just I like doing that. I like doing that. It's a little different world.
I love it. Well, Chris, we appreciate you carving out so much of your time this evening to hang out with us. Remind everybody where they can subscribe and read your great work.
Appreciate it. LandryFootball.com is where you want to go. It's the hub with everything. You get all the podcasts that I do. We do them live on Twitch and YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff, and the podcasts, the social media. I was just kidding. Silk. I am familiar with block or mute or whatever the term is, but social media, I have social media help, or you can find me there at Landry Football. You can get all the detail. What we try to do is kind of take folks inside the film room. We give them, the breakdowns of all the games, college, NFL, everything from recruiting, the draft, but the games, obviously, we're down to championship game weekend, and then obviously the NFL, we got another long month left to go. But it's, the coaching search stuff, the news and notes every day. So it's one-stop shopping football. It's like having your own scouting department for less than a magazine subscription. So check it out today and take advantage of the sale we got going on and try it out for a month, 6 months, a year, whatever is your liking.
I love it. Well, Chris, thank you so much again for coming on and joining us this evening. I look forward to having you on, and thanks for your wonderful insight about Billy Napier and the college football landscape.
Hey, thanks a bunch, guys. Take care.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Have a great night, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Chris Landry always has incredible insight.
A wealth of knowledge.
That's my guy, bro. Like,
Wealth of knowledge.
Encyclopedia of just football, bro.
It's like 5 minutes into having him on, I was like, damn, he's forgotten significantly more than like I know or might ever know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say that about a lot of people. All right,
Why so violent today? Unbelievable.
That was a good.
Unbelievable.
That was now you.
Good joke right there. Yeah, you set it up.
Yeah. Appreciate that. That's like the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade photo.
No doubt.
And I'm the
Did you
I'm
see
the ball.
the video of
I'm the
LeBron
ball. I'm
snitching
getting
on the
dunked.
fan this week? That
I
shit
did,
made
yeah.
my week. Man, that made my week.
Bro, he's getting old. You can't be snitching on the fans. It was like
No,
a 22-year-old girl.
He should be snitching, but the way he was, because the fans were saying some egregious stuff, so like he should have been snitching.
Yeah.
But the way he looked snitching was like Karen-esque.
Like Karen James running over.
God.
Like Karen James. Yeah.
That's my guy, but he looked nuts, man. That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. All right, so obviously we had Ross Dellenger on, we had Chris Landry on, so we didn't get a chance to really talk, much about it. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, that was a name that we alluded to very heavily last week. But Nick, give us your thoughts, on the hire as a whole.
First off, news, you can't blink in the carousel. I said, Brian Kelly looked like a 21-year-old me at the bar at 2 a.m. Did well for myself. Or Scott Woodward did. Scott Woodward landing Brian Kelly, reportedly.
That's a terrible hire.
Listen, bro, he's a big game hunter. We're gonna see it play
culture
out.
fit. This is
not a good
beautiful.
culture fit. No, not a good culture fit.
This is a beautiful culture fit to watch right here. Like you want to see a debacle. He don't even speak Coach O. So I don't know. I don't know how he's gonna operate down there, man. Like culture fit wise, I don't think he's been south of the Mason-Dixon. That's
I've got
Louisiana,
a good
Baton Rouge. That's a different
A
type
guy
of
with
get up.
a guy with a loose moral compass going to a school with a loose moral compass. Hey, they just happen to find each other.
perfect fit.
So no, it's a different culture down in the Bayou, man. I don't think that's gonna work out.
I had a friend who was playing football at Notre Dame for Charlie Weiss. Charlie Weiss gets fired going into his senior year. Brian Kelly comes up in his first meeting, introduction to the team, asks everybody that wasn't ask everyone that's not a freshman to stand up because he wasn't going to put it on the freshmen. And he points at them and goes, "You all got the last coach fired, and I'm not going to let you do that to me." And I was like, "Nice to meet you too, coach."
What?
Wow.
That was his
Brian
introduction.
Kelly did that?
That was Brian Kelly's first team meeting at Notre Dame.
I like this guy.
Per my buddy who was a long snapper, and I don't think he was getting anyone fired.
Florida State, man. I like this guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy for the job. It's gonna be interesting. I wanted to ask Landry, but we got him out of there. I wanted to ask him, do he think I think Fickle makes a lot of sense for Notre Dame, but does Urban Meyer, old head, pops back up into college football even a little bit?
Urban's got to be excited about this. That's the dream job.
This is a wild season.
Yeah.
This is
Urban's going to turn this into an extension in Jacksonville. I just know it.
This is per silly season. We haven't even talked about Riley going to USC and how that all play out. They asked him about the LSU job. He's like, "Yeah, of course, I'm not taking the LSU job." He scoffed at it. Next morning, he takes the USC job. That's nuts.
Hey, that's on the reporter. That's on the reporter. Our fraternity asked the wrong question.
That's right.
That's true. That's true. You gotta word it right. That was a slick, man. All-time great, man. When he get off the plane with his whole staff. like this was planned out well. They bought him a mansion. Well, not a mansion. $6 million crib in LA is probably like 1,200 square feet.
Bro,
I've watched Selling Sunset.
Notre Dame has a chance to make the playoff. Like, who's going to coach Notre Dame if they make it to the college football playoff?
He might get his shit.
Marcus Freeman is going to be their coach, I think. No,
I like Marcus Freeman for us to try to go poach for like DC or something now. Like I like Jim Knowles, but I wouldn't mind Marcus Freeman as well. But let's take my cousin. I like Jim Knowles.
So interesting on that coaching note. Patrick Toney is ULL's. I think I'm calling him ULL. I remember when ULL came to Florida, their SID was like, "Hey, can you not call us Louisiana Lafayette?" Like they were doing a like brand shift to just Louisiana, and I was like,
that's what happened there. That's what
because it was the University of Louisiana Lafayette, and they were like, "Let's not have our name be 65 characters."
This shit is definitely different. They did. That's a nice brand switch because I didn't catch it till you just said something, but I knew there was something different there.
Well, I keep calling them ULL, but they would prefer to be UL, I guess.
And then the way the Raging Cajun guy spells out LSU's whole name, and it's like NMS or N something else. It's like a little weird. It's like they got a little sassy back and forth going with Louisiana colleges that I like.
Yeah. Patrick Toney says DC there. I think he would like to bring Toney, but not in a DC role. I've been told that Toney already has an offer to be Texas Tech's DC. So interesting as the coaching carousel, moves around.
That bad of a DC.
That's a guy you want to bring, but I don't think you would make him your DC at Florida. Would you want to go? I mean, he's only 31 years old. Would you go if you have a Power 5 offer to call plays? Would you go back to being just a D-line coach? I don't know.
No, you gotta take the DC job at Texas Tech. You just can't turn down a DC job. It ain't many of them. That's an elite.
31
position.
Years old.
Right. You gotta take it. Are we going staff? We talking staff wise? What do you feel about the hire?
I wanted to kind of get your all's thoughts. I mean, I like it on paper. Everything about it seems to mesh. I mean, you don't know for a couple of years, but I think everything that you want out of a coach, you're getting, right? You got a, football mind. You've got a good recruiter. You've got a guy with a good pedigree. Has risen the ranks, relatively quickly. Is highly respected. Obviously a well-known guy, in the community as well for not only his intelligence but his tenacity and his, organizational skills. I mean, on paper, everything, checks the, everything that you're looking for. So what Florida wants is, that tenacious, organized, football mind. And I think that they got that. It's not the splashiest hire. It's not going to be your Lincoln Riley or your Brian Kelly, but I think for what Florida was wanting and needing, I think that he checks those boxes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of all those old names. I just seen a bunch of old names. That's why I wasn't a big fan of Lane Kiffin name coming up, because we need some fresh blood. And this just feels like somebody that gets the job. Like I said, the rivalry with Georgia, he's an SEC guy. He was on that Bama staff, bro. He understands what it's going to take to win the SEC championship. So I want to get like somebody young, some energy, a recruiter. Like McElwain was off the Bama staff, but he wasn't known as a recruiter. He was just off the Bama staff. This guy's known as a recruiter. And it's buzzing quick with him on the trail. It's not taking a long time to get going. I like the names that's coming up. I like Willie Corn, name as an OC. Even if Willie's not calling the plays, just some of the concepts he's doing at Coastal Carolina are pretty innovative and fresh looking. So I wouldn't mind Willie Corn as the OC, just to give him some input and maybe change what he's calling. I do not like the offense he has. I'm not gonna say I don't like it. I don't like. It's not explosive what I'm seeing from ULL. Right. I watched the past games, watched some previous games in the season. I do like the pistol. I like his run attack. Some of the sets are dope, but I would like to see some more concepts come from some other guys like Willie Corn or whoever he hires as OC. Just some input. But from infrastructure wise, the hires that I'm hearing, the names that I'm hearing is crazy. Crazy impressive. And he can recruit. And we need somebody that come in and get some guys out of the portal right now. There's some rumors of him bringing a DB over with him. Yeah, maybe an offensive lineman. We need guys to play right away next year, because I think we got some talent on this roster and we can go make a run. I don't think it's a long flip.
Gerald Mincey today hitting the portal was surprising to me.
That was wild.
I thought he was like next man up. He's a guy that they've obviously didn't play a ton, but I thought would be a shoe-in, or maybe not a shoe-in, but probably the front runner to start at one of the tackle spots next year. So seeing that news pop was surprising to me. It seems like you've waited. Next year is the opportunity, and now you're just going to dip and go somewhere else. But maybe there's other reasons that behind the scenes.
It feels like he's going fresh. Like from the note that I read, I won't get into the exact. I don't have it in front of me, but it just felt like he just wanted maybe a fresh new environment or something. And it may not be over, because I think he's in the portal, so Napier has a chance to recruit him as well. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Andy Staples had a pretty good take that just says, hey, especially at Oklahoma right now, they've got players everywhere, jumping into the portal right now. And just because they've jumped in doesn't mean that they lose any eligibility, doesn't necessarily mean that they're transferring. But, it's also an opportunity. It's a new coach. It's a time to be re-recruited. It's a time to be, sought after. It's a time to see, hey, maybe there's another potential fit somewhere, right? Not speaking Gerald Mincey's case, let's just talk about the generic recruit or transfer kid, might be looking for something different, might be looking for a different experience. So you never do know, but I was very surprised to see Gerald Mincey's name, with that note, Dante Lang, Dante Zanders also put his name to the transfer portal today, who's a defensive lineman, came to UF as a tight end. But Nick, since we have this, discussion, let's talk a little bit about some of the names. Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, a guy that's up for the Broyles Award right now, is a guy that's been connected, that I've heard has been connected to University of Florida. Doug Belk, who's the defense coordinator at the University of Houston, is a name that's also connected. But I know that you're hearing some names. What's kind of the general thought on current staff that may stick around, and then other names that you're hearing?
Hold on, I gotta pull up my. I'm doing my Adam Schefter impression. I gotta go into my text messages. So you're going through a process where you're vetting people, and that had sort of already started when Grantham and Hevesy were let go. But some names that I'm hearing, I heard Patrick Toney, but that's one we just mentioned. He's a DC now, has an offer to be a DC. I don't think the job offer at Florida would be defensive coordinator. So that's one, I don't know. I was told today to expect Mark Hawk to come to Gainesville. I don't know what that means for Nick Savage. We
Mark Hawk is their current strength and
conditioning coach. Yes. I heard today that Kevin Steele, I keep saying Chris Steele, USC defensive back. Kevin Steele is being vetted, obviously, was at LSU, was at Auburn. Charlie Partridge is a name that I'm hearing. I think a name that I can't stop hearing is Kitchens, who's the running backs coach right now with the Falcons. I think that would be a good hire. I know people want Juwan Sider to come back. I've been told Juwan Sider wants to come back. I'm sure Silk would like to hear that, or could probably even slide in those DMs and figure that one out.
Oh, no, bro. That's my guy. Like, me and Sider talk regular.
Your guy wants.
If you check my tweets, if you check my tweets, Nick, on Thanksgiving, he was frying a turkey, and I said, "Hey, don't burn that house down." And he said, "Nah, man, I know what I'm doing." I said, "Hey, if you so happen to do so, I have a place for you in Gainesville."
You're already recruiting.
Oh, for sure. You got to plant the seeds.
Bro, you're doing more recruiting than Mullen did all year.
Yeah, plant the seeds, man. I was so sad when they took Sider off the team. That just broke my heart. And it was just shout out to Greg Knox. Great win this Saturday. But that was just a bad decision. That was an easy layup you should have kept. It just didn't make sense, man. Just didn't make sense.
And then the offensive line coach I keep hearing, obviously we talked about Phil Trattwine, but the line coach that I'm hearing is Coach Sale, who is with the Giants right now.
You've mentioned a couple names in the NFL. The NFL is on week 11 right now, or week 12?
6 more weeks.
Yeah, so you got 6 more weeks. You have a National Signing Day that's in 3 weeks. You've got another one that is in 10 weeks, give or take, not even 8-9 weeks after that. So you push that out 6 weeks. That's a tough. That could be tough. I'm not saying that you shouldn't hire the best guy for the job. And, listen, these classes, especially these transition classes, can be tough. Often they're kind of mangled and put together. They're a little unbalanced. A lot of guys end up transferring, things of that nature historically. But still, I can expect maybe one. But a couple coaches at the NFL would be certainly interesting.
Having a 17-week season for the first time definitely complicates things. In that timeline, how much you can't cut your nose off to spite your face. If you think this guy is a fit, but you're going to have to wait until the second signing day, I think you have to wait. You're not going to hire a coach just to have somebody in place. For early signing day. And it'll be interesting because signing day has the early signing day. Everyone kind of rushed to sign early. And some of that's, hey, I just want to get this process over with. I know where I'm going. Tired of getting blown up by reporters and coaches and all these people. Some of it became prestigious. I don't want to have to wait. I'm good enough. I can sign as early as possible. With how much coaches are moving right now, do you see some more kids wait for that second signing day to get some clarity? And you're seeing kids say, I committed to the university. Florida got a defensive line commit with an interim head coach. A lot of kids
somebody on this podcast told you that was coming.
Yeah. I should follow recruiting more.
Flex on them, Dan.
But maybe you see kids say, hey, yeah, even if I'm already committed and had planned on signing with a Florida, with an LSU, with anybody, with Ohio State, maybe I'll wait to see what shakes out. Because right now we're living in end times in this coaching carousel. This thing is spinning enough to make you throw up. So it'll be interesting. But I don't think you can say, well, we're not going to go and get a guy who's in the NFL because he won't be here for 6 weeks.
No, I agree.
And those 2 teams I mentioned in the NFL, the Giants and the Falcons, they ain't playing in the playoffs. So don't have to worry about them making an extended playoff run.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what the staff, and obviously, you can have 10, I think, people recruit. So even if Florida doesn't have fully staffed position groups. They can still have a fully filled roster worth of recruiters through National Signing Day, even if some folks join in early to mid-January. Nick, I know that we've heard Crime Dog potentially be a guy that was being vetted out. Christian Robinson, a guy potentially being vetted out. Do you anticipate any of those guys sticking around or job offers being extended, or do you think it's just a little too early to know?
I can say as of right now, we're taping this 8:47 p.m. on Monday, that Crime Dog has not talked to Napier. Christian Robinson has. I know both of them have another year on their contract. Listen, Crime Dog's going to land on his feet no matter where he goes. His reputation speaks for itself. I don't know that Christian will stay, or that any of the coaches will stay for a matter.
Yeah.
But there's going to be guys like
the staff's got to talk to each other just for retaining recruits and communication wise.
Yeah,
talk to somebody.
But I don't think Greg Knox is on an expiring contract. I don't expect Greg Knox to be back in Gainesville. I think Christian Robinson will get an interview. I don't expect Jules Montanaro to be back next year. And it's ultimately going to be up to just blanked on the coach's name, up to Billy Napier. But for me, you're going to bring over some guys from your staff potentially, but you're going to go out and get the best guys to fill your role. And then how much do you let your defensive coordinator? You're an offensive guy. How much do you let your defensive coordinator pick his own staff once you pick a defensive coordinator? Another name that I think is interesting is cornerbacks coach Rod Chance from Oregon.
Okay.
He's from South Florida, St. Thomas alum, state champion at St. Thomas, STA Pride. And I think he's been trying to get back. He was vetted last year by Florida and by Mullen prior to Jules Montanaro being picked. And they've got a good thing going in Oregon. Maybe he doesn't want to leave. But he's a guy that, if we're talking about fixing what the biggest problem was, recruiting, that's a guy that's going to go out and get you recruits. He's getting kids to leave South Florida to go to Oregon. Much easier. It's a shorter drive than it is flight. Shorter drive from South Florida to Gainesville than it is flight out to Eugene.
Trying to think of any other names that might be out.
And I'll say this, and I think Florida had been cheap in the past when hiring, the assistant coach budget. I don't believe that they will be this time around. I think Billy's going to have some money to play.
Up, bro. They got to pay people. We got to compete with the big dogs, man. I'm okay with Napier getting the program established and calling plays out the gate. Eventually, the head coach, I believe, has to step away from play calling. That's just the trend of what college football is going towards, more of a CEO approach. But getting his culture in, implementing his offense, and calling it out the gate, I'm cool with. But eventually, I just think this is something that's going to have to happen. And I think he's smart and mature enough to not let ego get in the way.
It's interesting. One thing, and I'm not saying that this will happen. Like when Will Muschamp, Will Muschamp was the hottest. Will Muschamp was like the hottest name. It was Mac Brown's coach in waiting. That was a home run, grand slam hire.
I was not mad at that hire.
No, nobody was. Everyone, Florida nailed it.
No. A few people, because they were saying we got a defensive guy, our first time, no experience. A few people mad now. I was a message board guy back then. It was some mad people.
Well, I might have. I can't release it yet, but I might have a new message board for you.
I was rational. Oh yeah. What you got going?
I can't release it yet.
Nick, why don't you announce it on 3? 1, 2.
I cannot.
Oh, okay.
Aha.
That was slick.
Dan thinks Dan's on one today. Dan might have taken something before this.
It's the vest.
It's the vest.
It's sweater.
You have to be witty if you got a vest like that
on. So I'll say this: everything I've gotten from Napier seems like almost, I don't want to say it in a negative light, but almost like micromanaging. Like his hand is kind of in everything, whether it's recruiting, the day-to-day operations, and that can be good. You're stepping up big time, and everyone I've talked to says, hey, he's ready for this. Chris Landry just said he's ready for this. He's prepared for this. Do you get overextended? Because, I mean, you're talking Silk like, hey, I don't want you to necessarily call plays. You're cool with it in year one, but, be a CEO. It's a totally different ball game. You've seen
he
Saban
he worked for the two CEOs, the guys that CEO at the best, Dabo, Nick. So that's what's encouraging that he's been around those type of guys, and he has a calm demeanor about him that don't seem that he's like all about ego. It's like it seems like there's a lot of humility in his demeanor. Yeah.
So I guess I'm just saying maybe a potential pitfall is just trying to do too much and having your hand in everything. I'm always big on hire the best person for the job, hire smart people, and let them do what you hire them to do.
Yeah, let them do it, but watch them do it though.
but be peeking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
No, you go on ahead. I'm just gonna be right behind you watching.
I was just like, I hired the right person.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pick up a few things back here. You can keep going. I'm just gonna be behind you.
Speaking from experience.
One of the things that I noticed, and I'm not gonna pretend like I know all of his assistant coaches, their backgrounds, their schemes, where their standing is in the profession, but I will say that I think that he's attracted what seems to be a very competent staff for a school that let's be clear, despite the fact that Silk was recruited by the Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana was a very terrible football school for basically ever. And I know, a lot of people look at UCF. No, I said despite the fact. No, I mean,
appreciate the offer.
I don't want you to think that. Right. So, despite the fact that there's been, some success in the group of five, UCF's, Cincinnati, etc. Louisiana has been a very bad school for a very, very long time. And so the fact that Billy Napier in his last, I think 37 games is 32-5 in the last couple of years. He's had 2 regular season losses is a very incredible turnaround.
He is their Steve Spurrier.
He is, but by far.
I've never seen such a thing before.
I think he treated the job like it, right? You could see it in his farewell note. You could see about the way that he talked about the school, was very respectful, not only of them, but about the opportunity that he had. And he never took it for granted. He was never just looking for that next, jump, right? He was never just looking for that next job. I think that he very much respected that school. And, I think that he left them in a much better spot than they were before, which is exactly what he said he wanted to do. And I think that he's going to be able to, bring it. I truly do think he's going to be successful.
Is that what the Cape for Nape is there for?
Cape for Nape, yeah.
Silk, is it lion season?
Hey man, I don't even feel like I'm lying.
That's when you know the lion's good, when you believe it.
Yeah, no doubt. Pathological liar. But I feel real good, man. I think it's a longevity play. As a young guy, man, the names, connections, the guys, I think Willie Corn is a young superstar. I think he's gonna be a really good head coach one day. So it just reminds me. I'm not saying it's nothing in the two, but it's the vibes are like Urban. Them guys were young. Dan Mullen was young. He was coming from Utah. There was a lot of unknowns with the spread offense working in the SEC. Like people thought Florida was absolutely nuts. Hindsight is 2020, but at that time when we hired Urban Meyer, he was the hottest coach, but he wasn't the best coach. We didn't go poach Notre Dame or no big program. We went and got the best hot up and coming available guy. So it just has that same feel to me. And like some of the names, some of the energy behind it, I just like it.
And, these guys have to start, somewhere. You're going to take your, you look back at Kirby Smart, and I can't believe Kirby Smart, Brian, I can't believe I called him Mark or Rick to Chris, but you look at Kirby Smart, perennial, coordinator waiting for that right opportunity, a lot of question marks. And, for Georgia, that was the right move. You look at, folks that have rised in the ranks, you look at Urban Meyer, where did they get started? You look at Nick Saban, where did they get started? Right. So there's always going to be that next jump and that next opportunity where somebody's got to seize it. You don't start out as a GA at the University of Florida, then immediately get that head coaching job, right? You have to rise the ranks. And, I think that Billy's, pedigrees is as good as you want out of a coach. I think his tenacity, I think his organization are all things that you look for. So, now it's a matter of building out this staff, building out, the support, group and see who, those next folks are.
We got new bells, we got new whistles, we got a new coach. We just beat sorry ass team in the Panhandle with an interim. Hey man, life could be worse. You could be not going to a bowl 3 years in a row. You know what I'm saying? Like
you could be riding Renegade. It could be worse.
Yeah, you could be on that dead horse getting beat.
Man.
Speaking
of
a
2-hour podcast, huh?
Yeah. Well, so why don't you give us a Manscaped ad read before we head out of here?
It's holiday season, man. Black Friday just passed. Visit manscaped.com for all your man grooming needs. Use coupon code SG at checkout for 20% off. It's 25% off right now in holiday season.
I think we're done as of today. So if you're watching on YouTube, you've got however long until midnight. That's all right. You still get 20% off.
20% off. Back to the 20. A dub. Can't beat that with a bat. Cheaper than going to Target. Coupon code SG, get that lawnmower 4.0. You can use that thing in the shower. You would not get electrocuted or shocked. Has a light, so you can have the lights off. You can set a vibe while you shave your balls. You cannot beat that. Free shipping, 20% off. Manscaped.com.
Very good. Right now, bowl projections, Nick, have you either in St. Petersburg, Florida at the Gasparilla Bowl. I've seen Miami. I've seen UCF. I've seen as potential targets in that game. Or the Cure Bowl, which I'm trying to figure out right now where that is.
What's the name of that bowl?
Cure Bowl. Oh, that's the one in Orlando. Sorry, I didn't know they changed the name of their stadium. So that one's in Orlando.
Oh, yeah, we need that one. Just Kush off tailgate. Oh, God, let me pray for that one.
So either Tampa or the Tampa Bay area or Orlando.
No, man. Everybody need to come to Orlando. Speak that into existence. We need a Kush off shindig. What's up?
Let me peel back the curtain a little bit here. So the
peel back.
ESPN has a company. ESPN owns like more than 85-90% of the bowls and puts them all on. The ESPN events has the Armed Forces, Bahamas, Birmingham, Boca, gigantic list of bowls.
Right.
I thought you were going to go through the whole list.
No, too many.
No, I would have definitely stopped him.
So once you get,
we're over 2 hours.
once you get after the college football playoff, everything else is just picking matchups. And there's some bowl tie-ins like the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl. There's some bowl tie-ins, but once you get down to these bowl games, ESPN's trying to get ratings. This game is on December 23rd, which I think is a Monday. That could be wrong. December 23rd.
To Atlanta that day.
7 p.m.
The 23rd is a Thursday.
Thursday night. Thursday night, 7 p.m. ESPN. What makes sense? Does Florida UCF make sense, or do you want to put Miami versus like Georgia Tech, or Miami versus a 6-win team from the Big Ten? I think when it comes down to it, dollars make games in Miami, Florida. Gasparilla Bowl.
I don't want to play. I don't want to play just for the sake of like the bowl games not meaning anything anymore. I don't want to play UCF, Miami, and like that in-state rivalry type, because I think we may not have our whole defense show up. Like our front 4 may not show up. You know, like you have no idea. Elam likely won't show up. Dean probably won't show up. You just don't know what you're about to throw out there for like an in-state rivalry at a random bowl game with interim head coach.
Yeah.
Now, don't give me none of that. Give me some random team. I'll take Southeastern Missouri or something.
Southeastern Missouri State.
Yeah.
SEMO.
Formidable opponent. Easy
Yeah.
vibes.
That's in
Southeastern Missouri State
Yeah.
Technical Institute.
Yeah.
Southeast Missouri State is in Cape Girardeau. Cape Girard. No, Cape
Of course,
Girardeau, Missouri.
Dan's got all kinds of dandy facts about flyover states.
Yeah. SEMO. Anyway.
So I think Gasparilla Bowl makes sense. It hurts my heart that I think I need to give up on
Orlando, bro.
I think I need to give up on my aspirations of going to Nashville.
Yeah, I don't think the Music City Bowl's happening this year, Nick.
It's unfortunate. I mean, it's just you hate the things.
If Dan wasn't tanking, we could have easily made like the Mayo Bowl at least.
Yeah, at
You
least
need like
Mayo
seven.
Bowl.
You need like 7 wins, I think, for that. You need
Dan
a 7.
was tanking.
He sure was. Hey, Nick, before we close out, and I think I've got the song of the week, and it's a perfect day because, boy, oh boy, do I have some news to share with you guys. Why don't you run through a little bit of the timeline there? I know we've talked about it, but, you know, we had Ross come on before we could dive into this. Tell us a little bit about this search.
Yeah. Did a deep dive over on Rivals. Florida, I think Scott Strickland, and I believed it as well, that Dan Mullen needed to make some changes around him, make some philosophical changes, look inside, but thought that Dan Mullen could win championships at Florida. And I think Dan Mullen can, if he makes those changes, will have success somewhere else. And I think that was Scott Strickland's thought until the South Carolina game. The way that played out changed the thinking. And Dan knew he was going to fire his buddies, Todd and Hevesy. And that decision was made for him, or the timing of that decision. Hey, you're not waiting until after FSU. It's happening now. And that was like Andy Staples said, you know, throwing 2 guys into the volcano and praying for rain. Florida reached out to Billy Napier that Sunday to gauge interest. Not to Billy, but Billy's people. You reach out to Jimmy Sexton, to CAA, start talking to the agency to gauge interest. So we say this move quick. We say this was a week, but I mean, that was a month ago now, 3 weeks ago. It feels like 12 years the way the season has ended, but it was a long time ago. Scott reached out, gauged interest. The first half of the Sanford game happens, and I think in my mind, I still thought if he wins out, he'd be back. And some people at UF told me didn't matter. It was already done at that point. In Scott Strickland's mind, like, hey, it wasn't all about wins and losses. There was accountability and discipline slipping in the locker room and in the program. So that's when the second time you reach out, and then Florida continually reaching out to Napier. There were other guys. Billy Napier is the only person Florida interviewed for this job. So a couple people at Florida told me it didn't matter if he won Missouri and Florida State, that he was going to be gone either way. So there was a sense of urgency with Strickland because Billy Napier's first choice was LSU. And it makes sense. And I'm not trying to rub it or make Florida fans feel bad. He's been in Louisiana for 4 years. He was at Alabama for 6 years before that. He's in that footprint right there. He's got his whole recruiting system set up. Everything's good there. He spent so much time in that area developing relationships with coaches. And you're going to be able to completely lock down that state if you put on purple and gold and you're Billy Napier.
What is your big, like, real quick? Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's why Florida moved as quickly as they did because, and I had a couple people tell me Billy Napier had an offer from Florida last week, the Monday before FSU, had an offer. And he basically told LSU, hey, it's now or never. And they canceled a meeting with him on that Monday. And I wonder, because then people are asking, well, what about when Manny got the job at Temple from Mississippi State, got the head coaching job at Temple. Miami came around, and a week later, a month later, he was gone. I was told Billy Napier is the kind of guy that will take that slight from LSU and hold a grudge. Like, yo, I'll see you November 15th in the swamp.
I need that energy.
You're gonna have to come play me because
that's what I'm saying. We got a guy that understands all of that. Like he got a beef with LSU. He's not gonna be cool with you throwing a shoe in the fog.
Yeah, that was a valid question that I had to ask somebody. I was like, well,
you feel me, Dan?
Did they sign it or do they have like a gentleman's agreement? Because a gentleman's agreement doesn't mean shit if LSU comes calling with $12.5 million. Hey, cool. I know we shook hands, but I'm out. So I think he'll come in with a grudge, and that's why Scott Strickland moved. This was his number one guy. Not Florida wasn't necessarily Billy's number one job, so he moved quickly before that other school, fell back essentially to calling him. And Ross explained better than I can, the politics in Louisiana.
I gotta ask a question the streets want to know. So, what happened on Thanksgiving? What got everything so weird? Like we lost Billy for a day.
What do you mean we lost him?
No, that's what the internet was saying.
Bro,
Jason Higdon posted something. And the internet
world.
Dan don't have no wherewithal to do subliminal shit. He just came. Higdon.
Bro, you should have seen Dan on our message
same thing on the
board.
timeline. Yeah, he snapped.
They announced Jason Higdon was taking over, and Dan went scorched earth. Scorched earth on our message board. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think Dan will be allowed back on the Rivals message board. Not that he wants to
cancel my membership. Yeah, cancel my membership.
Dan, a wild boy.
So what happened on Thursday so that everybody can talk to us about how great Jason Higdon is?
Bro, who's going to Virginia Tech over Florida? Like, what are you talking about? It's ridiculous.
Oh, that's what the smoke was?
Just ridiculous. I don't know what Higdon posted. I've never talked to him. I'm blocked on Twitter. I'm blocked on Twitter. Billy Napier. I'm blocked. I don't know. I've been blocked for years.
Yeah.
But
I'll swap blocks with you if you want.
Billy Napier was never going to Virginia Tech. Maybe that was like Jimmy Sexton trying to squeeze out a couple $100,000 more.
That type of cocaine. There's no way Jimmy Sexton thought he could use Virginia Tech against Florida for some type of leverage.
People, so I'm thinking. Listen, man, I'm trying to.
Wow.
I'm trying to ignore the stuffing on the table. I'm trying to enjoy some football, enjoy some ham, some turkey, some gravy, and then our message board's blowing up. Twitter people are asking me, "Hey, he's going to Virginia Tech. We're gonna miss out on him." I'm like, bro, no one's going to Blacksburg over Gainesville. Are you crazy?
You don't think that Billy Napier was sitting around on Thanksgiving weighing Blacksburg, Virginia, and Gainesville, Florida, and then leaked the news to Jason Higdon at the same time?
The moment, if you Scott Strickland, the moment you get a call about hey, listen, I know, I got this offer over here, Virginia Tech, though. You just gotta get him off the phone, right? All right, yeah, you're not the guy.
I gotta go.
Yeah,
I'll call you back, man.
Hold on, I got a call coming out. I'll call you back.
If I'm Scott Strickland and Billy Napier, after we already talked about our future together, baby, I put a ring on it. We put a down payment on a house, and you come calling me being like, "Well, what if we take an RV to Blacksburg?" I'm like, you know what? You can keep the ring. You can keep the ring. We're fine. We're not walking down the aisle together. Blacksburg? Blacksburg? Get out of here.
Let's act like this never happened.
Yeah. We wish you the best of luck.
So man, y'all go eat some dessert. My DMs was going crazy. Go eat some dessert, man. Nobody's making
That's why I tweeted. I was like, yo, calm down. It's Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. There's some football games on. Don't worry about a coach that it's always been. I'm starting the hashtag. It was always Billy.
I gotta take days off, man. So I am not a source. Don't hit me up asking me about any information. I'm not at Walmart on holidays. I'm eating dessert, man. I don't know what's on message boards.
No, wild.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
Shout out to Dan. Dan nipped it in the bud. That's my guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. So I got the song of the week, and today I've been trying to withhold my excitement. One of the best country music bands of all time, Turnpike Troubadour. They're back. They announced that they are back. They took a couple-year hiatus. Silk, you'll recognize the Turnpike Troubadour. So the third episode ever of Stadium and Gale, we had a country music song on that everybody was like, don't ever let Dan pick the music again because it was super twangy. That's the Turnpike Troubadours. So they were on a couple years, that 3-year hiatus. The lead singer got involved in some drinking and went to rehab, went through a separation, dated Miranda Lambert. She dumped him. A whole slew of things happened. But boys, country music
sounds like a country life, bro. Like Shot My Dog music, man.
Turnpike Troubadours. So hailing from the great state of Oklahoma, probably the only thing that Oklahoma has going for it now that Lincoln Riley's gone. Long time take us out. One of the best country music bands of all time, Turnpike Troubadours.
Same corner, same time.
Same corner, same time.
Scared money don't make money, you know.
I can't think.